Welcome to the 8th video tutorial for the Skyrim Creation Kit. Optimization. Level designer Justin Schramm is back to show us how best to optimize our levels for smooth playthroughs. Here's Justin.
Now we are going to optimize our dungeon using room markers and portals. Room markers are an easy way that we can use to divide up our dungeon so that the game doesn't have to render the entire thing at once. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at our dungeon layout and see how many distinct rooms we can make from it. Here we have about 5. So we're going to place our first room marker into the first room here. Before we do that, we're going to want to go into the Show Hide window here in the view, and then we click Show Hide. And we want to make sure that Portals and Rooms is checked here. It usually starts out unchecked. So make sure that's checked, and that'll make sure that our Portals and Rooms are visible so they're a little easier to work with. We're also going to want to make sure Snap to Grid and Snap to Angle are turned on. So go ahead and select any object in the first room. I'm going to select this wall here. And then you're going to click this button at the top of the editor, which is the room marker button. And once you click that, you'll see a big blue box appear in your first room. It's not enough to encapsulate the entire first room, so we're going to scale it using the gizmo arrows here. We're going to want to make sure we get every piece of the first room encapsulated by the room marker. We don't want to leave anything out because it won't be rendered. We'll drag it down to make sure we get everything that's under the floor here and raise it up to get everything that's over the ceiling. You can go ahead and make this as big as you would like, but it's a good idea to try to line it up just enough so that you don't have conflicts with other rooms in your dungeon. So we're going to make our second one here by just duplicating it with Control-D and sliding it over. Sometimes you could accidentally select one of the gizmos. It's easier to just click on the room bound one more time to make sure that you don't have a gizmo selected. And we're just going to scale this a little bit to fit this room. Make sure everything in it is here. Now, it normally would be a good idea to get a little bit of this large hallway here so that this room won't be too large. But you see that there could be a conflict here when you make this room marker. So we're going to just keep this one back a little bit. It's a good idea to look ahead and see how your other room markers will fit because you don't want them to intersect too much and cause confusion in the renderer. So now what we're going to do is place a portal between these two rooms. It's going to be like a window so that it's just big enough to render what the player would see when looking through, but not so big that it's rendering unnecessary things. So make sure one of your two room markers that you want to connect is selected, and then go down here and take a look at the doorway where we're going to place our portal. We're going to click on this P button here, which is the Create a Portal button, and then you just go ahead and click on the intersection, and a portal will be created. It made one all the way over here. We're going to slide it over using the resize gizmos. And then we're going to rotate it to match the border between the two rooms. So like I said before, make it just big enough to cover this doorway and not so big that you're getting other things rendering when you don't want them to. You can make that just a little smaller. All right, another good idea when you have a connection between two room markers is to hit the T key, and that's going to give you a top-down view, and then hit the 0 key, which is going to give you an orthographic view. And you're going to want to make sure there's no space between the two room markers. If there's any space, when the player walks through, then when they're in the space between the two, they're going to be in just the void. So you want to make sure there's nowhere where the player can be outside of a room marker at any point. Oh, now we're going to get out of orthographic view, move around. Just as long as you have Snap to Grid turned on, everything should snap together nicely, but there are times when you'll miss one. So it's a good idea when you're testing this in the game to try to stand where you know all your portals and intersections are and make sure that they work correctly. So we have our portal here. And we want to make sure it's connected to these two rooms, because right now it's only connected to the first room that we had selected. So the easiest way to select a portal is to go into portal selection mode. You can do that by hitting Control P or pressing this button right here, which only allows us to select portals while in the editor. So you see a white, light blue arrow here pointing to this room marker. That means it's connected to this one. We're going to also want to connect it to the other room. So with this portal selected, we're going to leave portal selection mode, hitting Control P, and then while holding Control, select our other room marker. So now we have the portal selected and our other room marker selected. Then we're going to hit this button here next to the P button, and what that's going to do is connect the portal to any room markers that are selected. So we'll click that, and now you see the arrow is pointing to both of these. So now we have two rooms connected by our portal. So now all we need to do is just do this same process for the rest of the dungeon. But before I do that, we have a small problem here. If from the first room we can see all the way through, let's imagine this door is open here. Just try to hide everything in the way. If that door is open, we have a line of sight from the beginning of the dungeon all the way to the boss room back here. This is bad because basically what's going to happen is all of this will be rendered when you're in the dungeon. And this could cause potential performance issues. So when you're building your dungeon, it's a good idea to avoid these long lines of sight like this. So we're going to fix this issue real quick. We're going to take one of these hallway pieces and replace it with a stair piece to block the visual here. All right, so now we have this stair piece here, so that when you're looking through the first room, you see these stairs block your line of sight a little bit so that we don't have to render everything in this room at once. Now I'm just going to set up the room markers and portals for the rest of the dungeon. If you feel comfortable doing the rest of it on your own, you can stop the video now, but if you want to watch how I do the rest of the dungeon, then keep watching. And there we have it, fully optimized dungeon.
Now that our level is fully optimized, we're nearing the end of our series. Will Tiffany and Carlos finally get together? Will Nate Perkypile survive his lighting tutorial? Find out next time on a very special Creation Kit video.